Hey everyone, this is David. It's just a quick hit on a Tuesday afternoon. Welcome in. Let's get right to it. We have a few things to cover here today. Yes, I need to take a sip of my coffee. You know what I want to start with? This resurfaced itself again last week. I believe we never really talked about it. This rumor and nastiness that Andy Cohen is allegedly stepping down from Bravo. Now, here, let me just start by telling you, I heard grumblings of this from a source. I have sources at Bravo in like January, and then I heard it again from the same person in February. Now, the thing is, people tell me a lot of things every day, all day. And like when someone tells me something, you have to look at the source of the source, right? Like to me, it's like, why are you telling me this? I mean, are you telling me this in confidence? Like, shh, you just know something? Or are you telling me this because you want me to put it out to the whole world and reveal it on a podcast, which it may or may not be true. You have an ulterior motive. And so, this source that told me this in January and in February, they're in that category. They have, let's not even get into it. But listen, that was my problem back in the day with like Margaret and Jennifer Aiden and all of my New Jersey friends who would tell me things, and I'd be like, you want me to put this out on a podcast? Now, there are podcasts that do that for New Jersey, but if it's not true and you have an ulterior motive, I'm not just going to put this out there because I don't have a team. I don't have any dog in this race. But there are podcasts that do that, especially for New Jersey. But that was my problem with Margaret and Jennifer Aiden and all my New Jersey friends. So when I heard this about Andy in January and then again in February, I was like, "Ugh, I'm not repeating this because this is like, I mean, people tell me someone slipped in my DMs the other day, hey, do you want to take down Bethany Frankel? I have a whole blah, 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 and I'm from inside her organization. And I'm like, I really don't want to take anyone down if something's not true. I mean, I don't respond to half the stuff I get. So I did hear grumblings of this, and now it's reared its ugly head again. And now it's like making its way to all of you. So I feel like I need to address this. And look, I think that, like, apparently there's a big Bravo announcement coming in April, which we're basically on the verge of April. And this could be true. It could be, but I got a lot to say about this. Okay. In theory, it doesn't really make sense. It could be true. Look, if Andy Cohen is stepping down from Bravo, let's break this down. Do you guys have a minute? It's one of two things. Either he wants to, and we can get into the reasons why he would want to, or he's being forced to, right? There's only two reasons. You're stepping down because you want to, or because you're forced to. So let's get into the wanting to, which I think is, if anything, more likely of the situation. If Andy wants to step down, it could be for a lot of reasons, right? One is, and this is no age shaming, he's in his 50s. I ain't no spring chicken. And he was, when you looking ahead at life and, lots of people live to 90 or 100, lots of people live to their 70s. So when you're in your 50s and you're going to live to your 70s, you got 20 years left there. Hopefully you'll be healthy for all of them. And you really start to take stock of like, he has two kids. Like, do I really want? I mean, look, Andy works all the time, right? Ryan Seacrest, Dick Clark back in the day. So, I mean, you're looking ahead and you're like, I have two kids. I want to spend more time with my kids. And he wants to step down to have more time to go to the Hamptons and just be a dad. Look, Andy doesn't need the money. He never needs to work again, right? We have Hoda Coffee who, retired and, she said she wants to spend more time with her kids and she doesn't need the money. Then of course, once Hoda left, there's grumblings of, well, she didn't want to take a salary cut. She didn't want to take a salary cut, and the ratings on the morning show with Jenna weren't as great, and she would have had to take a salary cut. So, wants to there could be motives behind that too. But look, Andy could just want to spend time with his kids. That's not so strange when you're in your 50s and you don't need to make money ever again in your entire life. That could be a reason. But I don't know. I mean, we also have to get into what does stepping down from Bravo mean for Andy even? That's what I don't understand about this whole story. It's not to me as dramatic as people are making it out to be. Now, it's not like I'm some huge Andy Cohen fan. Trust me, it's not like I'm some huge Andy Cohen fan, but I mean, he's not corporate. People forget this. He doesn't work for the network. He used to be a corporate executive at Bravo and NBC and be in charge of programming, but he's not like Francis. He's not like up there working for the corporate office of Bravo. I mean, he's an executive producer on Watch What Happens, and he's an executive producer on Real Housewives. So if you're like Lisa Vanderpump is an executive producer on anything that spins off from Vanderpump Rules, including the Valley. So Vanderpump is getting a piece of the Valley, even though she's not at all involved, which she's admitted to. So what does stepping down at Bravo mean? I mean, he owns Real Housewives. So anything on Peacock, any repeats, any new Housewife franchise, any new Housewife season. I mean, Andy's getting a piece of that, and he is probably going to be involved. So, stepping down, I don't even understand what that means. I mean, this is a show just like Vanderpump Rules. He has nothing to do with Vanderpump Rules. That's Evolution. But Alex Baskin and Evolution, I mean, they own Vanderpump Rules. Lisa owns it. So there's no stepping down from something that you own. So I mean, could that mean that he is leaving Watch What Happens and Watch What Happens is going away? Maybe. I have to tell you, Watch What Happens was renewed through 2025. So it's renewed through this year. So that's where I think maybe there could be some. Look, I've always said the numbers on Watch What Happens don't make any sense to me. It's not that highly rated when they were when people weren't being flown in. I remember after COVID when they would then fly in Erica Jane, but they wouldn't fly in, they would fly in Craig Conover, but they wouldn't fly in, the below deck people. If you're deemed like, maybe they would fly in the captains, but so they were cutting costs. Now we're flying everyone in again. But there are costs associated with that show. And so the ratings are not horrible compared to the rest of Bravo, but they are on the lower side compared to the rest of Bravo. I mean, everything is relative. If the ratings for Atlanta used to be 1 point something, now the ratings for Atlanta are 7 something. They're saying the lowest in Atlanta history was the premiere, the worst ever. Well, I mean, 7 something for Bravo these days is still good. Like we have to put this in perspective. But Watch What Happens isn't highly rated compared to the rest of Bravo. So maybe they're canceling Watch What Happens. It was only renewed through this year. That could be a big announcement, I guess. But to me, and again, not a huge Andy fan doing cartwheels, but it's not as dramatic as it sounds. So, like, Watch What Happens is going away. You still have Radio Andy, you have a book imprint, you're still the executive producer on all the Housewife shows. I mean, okay. So, I don't think that's like Watch What Happens is going away, is Andy stepped down. I mean, this isn't like the president of NBC stepping down. It's one piece of your empire is going away. That's the only part of the story that maybe makes sense is maybe Watch What Happens is going away because of bad ratings. But I have to say, isn't Watch What Happens just like a free advertisement for Bravo? So that's how it's able to exist with lower ratings. We talk about all the shows, we advertise all the shows, it keeps all the shows going. I don't know. So that piece makes sense. The stepping down, I think, is being true dramatic. I mean, Andy loves to work. I put him in the same category as Seacrest. So to me, it's like you can't really film all of Watch What Happens on one day because it's so timely. But it's not always filmed at 11:30 at night. It is filmed often. They pre-tape, they do two back to back, they do it earlier in the day. So if he really wanted to be with the kids, there is a way. Granted, I think the kids are sleeping at 11:30 at night when they tape this, but there is a way to do it with a live audience earlier in the day because a lot of it now is pre-taped. Like if someone from Atlanta is going to be on it next Sunday, they'll tape it today, Tuesday. There is a lot of that happens because it's still current and this and that. So there is a way to work around it. I don't believe he just wants more time on his hands because he loves to work. He also loves money. He also loves fame. Granted, he doesn't need any more fame or money. I just don't believe that. But if he is stepping down, there is this other, he built the Bravo network to what it is. I mean, did ever think that maybe there is some no-name network that wants to become Bravo that you just say no? Maybe he's doing the opposite. Maybe he's starting all over and it's such an interesting challenge. And the amount of money he is getting from a no-name network to put it on the map the way he did with Bravo is so gross and so astronomical that everybody has a price. That I mean, I'm sure Andy Cohen gets calls all the time. I'm sure Hoda got calls all the time. I'm sure there's calls